Chapter 32, Charlie. Simon was holding out on me, and it was starting to piss me off. Correction, I was pissed off. No sex for 2 weeks? It wasn't like he and I were engaging in an all-out sexual Olympic before I decided to make poor life choices. But now there's was nothing. Simon was adamant about me not doing anything too taxing, which apparently included all forms of sexual activity until he was satisfied that I was fully recovered. I suppose I should be happy that we were, after our first fight, firmly back in the honeymoon phase. Except honeymoons included sex. Well, honeymoons without knife wounds did. Granted, I had much bigger things to worry about, but focusing on the sexual drought I was experiencing was easier, safer. And if it made me a coward, I could live with that for now. I worked tirelessly trying to make progress with the notebook. I'd even considered asking Khan for help, but I couldn't do it. It wasn't that I didn't trust him, but the need for secrecy was crushing. People would kill for the information I had. I was pretty damn certain of that. I also considered telling Simon the truth more times than I could count. But just the thought of admitting to all of my lies had bile rising up in my throat and eating away the words like battery acid. All of her lies. If you keep begging, I'm going to make you wait longer. I glared at him. I'm fine. We were sitting on a couch in his den watching a movie, like high school freshmen on a hand-holding only date. You're pretty hot when you're pissed. Then you're going to think I'm goddamn gorgeous if you won't fuck me tonight. Why am I the guy in this relationship? Why can't you be as hard up for it as I am? Simon's smile turned sinister. Did you really just call me the girl in this relationship? Hell yes, I did. You're giving me a complex. He shook his head slowly. Charlie, you really are something else. He reached behind the sofa and produced a large box. If I were the girl in this relationship, I think you'd be giving this to me and not the other way around. He sat it on my lap. What is this? A present. But why? Just open it, okay? I looked down at the blue box with black lettering. It was from a fabulous boutique specializing in 1950s and rockabilly dresses. 18 months ago, I could have brought the whole store now. Now, I can only afford to look. As excited as I wanted to be about, what was probably inside the box, I feared we'd end up at another impasse. Or worse, another fight. Simon, just open the damn box, Charlie. I lifted the lid and handed it to him. I parted the tissue paper to reveal a gorgeous red dress and a black and red feathered mask. I lifted the dress out. It was one I had drooled over in the window. Runch sweetheart neckline, thick straps, and a full skirt. It was fabulous. My heart sank as I lifted my eyes to Simon's face. He wasn't smiling. I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm simply extending an invitation. I would love to have you next to me on the 4th, but if you can't, I'll get over it. What I won't get over is losing you again. I squeezed my eyes shut against the sting of tears. He lifted the box from my lap and folded the dress and put it back inside. Once again, the words of confession bubbled up inside of me. But when Simon pulled me close and tucked me against him, the thud of his heartbeat and my desperate need to savor the moment pushed him back down. I am a coward. I'm a lying coward who doesn't deserve him. Chapter 33, Simon. I stood on the deck of the steamboat Orleans and sipped my scotch. Derek stood next to me, leaning against the railing. We hadn't seen much of each other since his wedding in May. Between his honeymoon and a newlywed status and my chasing after Charlie, we'd lost touch. But he was here tonight because I asked him to come. I was still holding out hope that the other person I asked to come would show up. Because of the fireworks, the Orleans was staying docked all evening. There would be no excuse of missing the boat. I'm not sure if that made it better or worse. Your dad's your dad's in fine form this evening, Derek said. He was scanning the crowd for Mandy. She'd gone off to the ladies' room to readjust her mask. Apparently, it was ruining her hairstyle. I tipped my scotch back, swallowing a healthy swig. Ain't that the truth? My father had arranged for Arthur Jackson, his choice for the campaign manager, to attend. They cornered me for an interminable 15 minutes before I could escape to the bar. I was here tonight to support two great causes and to help gain support for my own. I wasn't here to talk about campaign tactics or fundraising or any other bullshit that my dad threw at me at every opportunity. It wasn't even time to officially kick off the campaign, and I was already sick of it all. The urge to tell my father to forget it was strong and growing stronger every day. Local politics was one thing, but the idea of jetting off to DC and kissing every ass on Capitol Hill to accomplish anything left a sour taste in my mouth. I couldn't hold my tongue when I thought something was bullshit. I called a spade a spade. I didn't know how my father had done it. He had some higher need for intrigue, machinations, and manipulation that I didn't share. I'd entertained the possibility because he was so damn invested in it. I'd never been a disappointment to my father, but in this, I would be. It was time for him to face the facts. I was not cut out to be a career politician. Gut instincts told me it was the right decision, and once I made it, I could focus on the things I actually wanted to do. Keep running day-to-day operation of Southern Cross, continue improving my hometown on the NOLA City Council, push forward with the Kingman Project, and figure out what a future with Charlie was going to look like. I tossed back the rest of my scotch. I'd have to tell him tonight before he got any further down the road of campaigning on my behalf. Well, holy shit, would you take a look at that? Derek said. I followed his gaze to the dock. A woman was strolling up to the boat wearing a Simon red dress and black and red feather mask. Waves of black, red, and purple hair bounced with each step. I dropped my empty glass on the tray of a passing server. I believe that's my date. Derek slapped my shoulder. Better go after her before the sharks start circling. Several heads had craned in Charlie's direction as she made her way up to the ship. Shit, she looked amazing. I pressed through the crowd to meet her at the railing as she stepped onto the deck. You're here. She nodded. Her aqua eyes stood out even more brilliantly against the feathers of her mask. I bent to kiss her cheek, not wanting to smear her crimson lips. You look beautiful. Thank you, and I never thank you properly for the dress, so thank you for that too. Charlie had fallen asleep in my arms that night without making it to the end of the movie. I carried her to my bed and tucked her in beside me. She'd been gone when I woke, but the dress box had been missing as well. It had given me hope. Between my work schedule and hers, we hadn't managed to see each other again until tonight. We spoken briefly last night, but the conversation had been awkward and stilted. Both of us dancing around the subject of tonight and neither of us having the balls to bring it up. But she was here. You're welcome. Can I get you a drink? Open bar, she asked. Cash bar, it's a fundraiser, babe. Then you're mine. Done. We ate, mixed, mingled, and bid on silent auction items. Charlie charmed everyone she met. She had a knack for small talk and putting people at ease I never noticed before. If I was still considering a life as a politician, I couldn't have picked a better conversationalist. It was like she was born to work a room. But I didn't give a fuck about her ability to make small talk. I was just happy that she seemed to be enjoying the event and had instantly connected with Kingsman's widow. Although I guess I should call her Karina. Her husband was another active duty sailor. I gave her credit for taking the same risk again. Not everyone would be quite so brave. I purposely maneuvered us away from my parents, not because I didn't think Charlie could handle my father, but because I didn't want him to piss me off and ruin the night. I'd say what I needed to say to him tomorrow. It would be soon enough. Then I saw a familiar head of blonde hair in the crowd. Vanessa. Dun 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 dun. She had accompanied her father this evening, and I could hear his booming laugh from across the ship. He was a bull of a man who liked to keep everyone and everything under his thumb. Charlie must have recognized Vanessa bearing down on us because she said, "Should I be concerned that the claws are going to come out since I stole her man?" I frowned. Vanessa's not like that at all. So sheath your claws, baby. She's good people. I think you'll like her. With the mask obscuring her face, I couldn't exactly see Charlie's skeptical expression, but I knew it was there all the same. My brows creased as I studied Vanessa. She was wobbling on her heels and her cheeks were flushed. She was drunk, which was completely out of character. I never even seen her tipsy in public, ever. I reached out an arm to steady her. Charlie seemed to pick up on the unusual nature of the situation and held out a hand. "I'm Charlie. It's nice to finally meet you." Her words weren't snide. They were sincere and genuine, and I loved her for that. "I've heard so much about you, Charlie. I'm so glad to finally meet you, too." Vanessa's words slurred as she shook Charlie's hand. "You found yourself a good man. Don't let him get away." She stumbled, and the clear liquid in her glass sloshed onto the decks, just missing Charlie's shoes. Another thing I've never seen Vanessa do was drink hard liquor. Something was seriously fucked up. "What's going on? You seem a little drunk," she finished for me. Then mission accomplished. Charlie and I worked as a unit to maneuver her into a corner. "What the hell is going on, Vanessa?" She downed the remainder of what smelled like a gin and tonic. She threw the glass over the railing into the river and wiped the back of her hand across her mouth. Her actions were all wrong. "Nothing you need to worry about, Simon." I opened my mouth to continue questioning her, but Vanessa was looking over my shoulder at Royce Frost as he crossed the deck, presumably headed towards us. She leveled a relatively sober stare on me and said, "I think I've had enough festivities for the evening. It's time for me to go, especially if you don't want my father to think you're still potential husband material." Charlie and I exchanged a confused look. "Let's get you a cab then, unless you want us to see you home," I offered. "No, a cab is fine." She turned to Charlie and spoke softly. "Treat him right. He's one of the good ones." Charlie glanced up at me and nodded. "I know." We helped Vanessa down the gangway, across the private section of dock, and then through a masses of people filling the streets. After Vanessa climbed into the back seat, I paid the driver and gave him directions to take her home. "I've never seen her like that. Something's definitely off," I said to Charlie as we turned away from the street. "Maybe you should check on her tomorrow. See if you can get a better sense of what's going on after she had a chance to sober up," Charlie suggested. I squeezed her hand, happy that she not only sheathed her claws, but was concerned about Vanessa, a woman she previously considered a threat. "That sounds like a plan." We pushed through the crowd, but a fat bastard of a man shoved between us, breaking my hold. "Charlie!" I spun, looking for her red dress as the mob of people carried her away from me like a riptide. When I finally caught sight of her, she was elbowing her way through the crowd and her mask was gone. Uh-oh. I made my way towards her, and when I finally reached her, I swung her into my arms. "You okay?" I asked. "Jesus, it's a freaking riot out there. You think it was Mardi Gras," she said, sucking in a breath. She gestured to her face. "Lost my mask. The elastic snapped, and I didn't want to risk looking for it. It's not worth getting trampled." "Good call." I holstered her up higher so she had a better vantage point to see over the craziness, and we made our way back to the private dock. When we reached a less crowded space, I set Charlie down and we both paused to right ourselves. A ginger-haired guy tried to follow us, but was stopped by the Orleans employee at the gate. He gestured wildly, but the security guard wouldn't let him pass. I hope he wasn't a guest who misplaced his ticket. When he backed away and faded into the crowd, I assumed he was just another partier wanting to get out of the craziness for a minute. No, somebody found Charlie. I watched Charlie as she shook her head, black, red, and purple waves falling into her face. She brushed them away as the first barrage of fireworks ripped through the night sky. My mind veered to the last time we watched fireworks. I grabbed her hand and pulled her up the gangway and across the ship. Everyone's attention was on the sky, so no one noticed as I led Charlie down 2 sets of stairs into a dark, empty room on the lower deck. Given the relatively small size of the event tonight, only the upper decks were in use. The glow from the dockside windows streaked through the shadows, creating pockets of light. Simon, what the hell? I thought we'd watch. Oh, we are. But I want a repeat of last time. She spun to face me, her face half in shadow, half in light. We can't, not here. After all your bitching about no sex, are you really going to shoot me down? Venturing further into the room, I picked a dark section between 2 tables with a view of the river and the fireworks exploding overhead. When you put it like that, Charlie started. I cupped her face and kissed her bold red lips, stealing her words. She tasted like champagne and sin. Her hands clutched the shoulders of my linen suit, and I wanted her to wrinkle the hell out of it. I skimmed my hand down her back and under the skirt of her dress, sliding my palms up the backs of her thigh. I gripped her ass and pulled her hard against me. You feel that? You ever think I don't want you? You crazy, babe. She flexed her hips into me. I took that as her assent and tugged at the sides of her lacy panties until they dropped to the floor and she stepped out of them. She bent to grab them and shoved them in her pocket. Her next words told me she was fully on board with my plan. I'm hoping I won't be able to remember my name, let alone my panties, after you're done with me. Jesus, Charlie. My heart on pulsed against my suit pants as she dragged me down for another deep drugging kiss. I pulled her hands away from my face and spun her toward the table. This time I'm in charge, sweetheart. After all, you did challenge my manhood. She shuddered at my words, and I pressed her against the table with a hand on her back. She moaned at the contact. Leaning over her, I whispered in her ears, You gotta hold those hot little moans in, baby. You think you can do that? She only nodded in response. Good girl. I pushed up the skirt of her dress, and the sight of her gorgeous ass had me struggling to hold in a groan. I want to spend the rest of my life memorizing her every curve. She fisted the white tablecloth as I nudged her feet apart. Another whisper into her ear. That's right, sweetheart. Hold on tight. This is going to be hard and fast. She arched her back, pushing her ass against me, urging me on. I could only imagine what she's been saying if we weren't worried about being discovered. It'd be something filthy, and I'd fucking love it. I freed myself from my pants and cupped her between her legs to find her hot and slick and ready. She pressed her face into the tablecloth as I slid 2 fingers inside her. A low moan escaped her lips. My answering groan was strangling in my throat. Shh, baby, I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry. I fit the head of my cock against her interest and thrust home, because that was exactly what Charlie had become for me. Home. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 33. So my thoughts on this chapter, I think somebody found Charlie. I think the FBI found her, or her mother hired a private investigator and found her, or as a result of Khan searching for her, they found where she was. So that person that was trying to get in, I think he's one of those 3. Okay, so what else? And especially her mask came off too, so somebody saw her face. Anything else? Hmm, nothing else. So I didn't have any definition words. I haven't had any definition words for the past couple of chapters, a few chapters, a lot of chapters. So that's the end of chapter 33. See you in the next chapter, which will be chapter 34. Bye.